Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's Jax here. Today we're going to talk about how to set up an endgame loot filter in Last Epoch, and just kind of how to use the loot filters as a whole in Last Epoch in case you are new to the game. If you are looking for just a generic leveling filter, I will leave a link down below to Last Epoch tools. There's people that always do a bunch of leveling filters for all of the different characters in the game, no matter what you are playing. However, I want to focus on endgame filters because what a lot of people end up doing is they find a build online and they want to try it, and then they just import that filter for that character, and then they're playing that character. However, if you do that, you're not finding gear for your other characters, and that is the intent of this loot filter. And so that way you can plug in. I have 6 different, breakdowns, obviously in the different color sections. So that way you can sit there and farm for future characters or for your alt characters, et cetera, et cetera. That way you're not just farming one character at a time, because you don't want to miss out on a good piece of loot because it got filtered out by your loot filter. How a loot filter works, it's very, very simple. The bottom line is always just hide all items. Like, this is always going to put, well, you have to put it in, but it always should be hide all items. That is your great filter. That means anything that isn't written above it is not shown ever at all for any reason. And that's where you want to start at. The next line, I always do unique/set items. You always want to see them, especially uniques. They drop a legendary potential. They're very poggers. You always want to see those. The next line, I always do exalted and tier 7. Tier 7 are exalted items. However, I do like separating them because the longer I've played this game, the more I don't care about exalted items. Now, when the new cycle starts with 1.0, I will care about exalted items at the start, but I won't care about them for long. So I just like the ability to turn it off, and that's what these buttons here are. This is just an enable or disable this rule. You can go ahead and just basically hide every exalted item that isn't a tier 7. Tier 7, again, you want this separated. I have every affix showing because when a tier 7 drops, I like oh, is it going to be good, is it going to be good. You can go ahead and thin out the affixes on this if you want. Like, hey, I only care about the premium tier 7s. That's up to you. I like having that gamble when it drops and saying like, oh, is it good, is it good. So that's up to you. The next section here is just generic idols. This is mainly for just getting started out. So like when the new cycle starts, obviously I will use this filter, and this is just for idols with resistances on it. That way I can get a nice stockpile of them. That way I have a bunch of resist idols, so that whenever my character is changing or my gear is changing, I always have some different idols that I can plug and play into it. That way I can maintain my resistances so I'm not dying. Very, very important. And then that's all the generic stuff. Then we get into the 6 different colored areas, which again would just be 6 different colored characters. Oh, and just to show the whole rules supersede. So if I turn off exalted items, like exalted items won't show when I drop it, right? But these exalted items, they will show because, for this demonstration, this will be changed if you do go to the link and download the filter or copy the filter. These will still show. Like, it doesn't matter, like, because again, the rules above always supersede the rules below. I just wanted to demonstrate that very quickly. In the next section here, this is basically every filter that you could want for any different character. I've thought about not having belts and rings and gloves and stuff. I wanted to put those in their own area, but it's no harm, no foul. You can just set it up for each character individually. It just makes it kind of a scroll to find each character, but again, not a big pain, not a big problem. But in the first one, you want to have your idols. So for this character here, my Spellblade, I want static charges. Oh wait, my filter, hang on, technical difficulties. I turned that filter. Oh no, wait, I have the filter off. Oh, there it is. Boom. And so when idol drops that has static charges on it, I will see the idol. Go ahead and re-equip that. Apologies for that. And then that's how you're going to set up every single thing, because maybe you want something else. Maybe you want to say, hey, I want static charge per second, and I want damage over time while channeling. Maybe you want either of those, or maybe you want both of those and say, hey, now that I have my 2 static charge idols, right? Maybe now I want static charge and something really good. So I can go ahead and select, a second one and be like, hey, now I only want to see it if it has both things that I said. So that's something else that you can do with those filters. And again, you want to stricten these up over time. So again, like I got the static charge I want, but chance to cast fire aura is pretty bad for my build. So I actually want a better idol at this point. So I can go ahead and stricten that filter as I get different gear for the character. Other things you can do. So let's just say here, let's say, hey, I want a warding scroll. And boom, I only care. So right now it'll show all warding scrolls that drop. But now it's like, hey, I want a warding scroll with, we'll just throw some sort of crit on there because crit's always good. I want melee crit strike chance on it. I don't think that can actually drop on a relic, but we're just going to say for now, there is a little bit of knowledge of knowing what you need to add on these filters. But let's say, hey, I don't really care if it's a tier 5, right? I actually only care if it's a tier 6. Then I want to see it. So now I only want to see warding scrolls that drop with a tier 6 critical melee strike chance. That's the only thing I care. If it doesn't have that, I don't care about that item. And again, you'll have to make these decisions for your characters. Another thing to note is, let's say for gloves, like you only care about outcast gloves. That's all you care. Like, hey, I just want outcast gloves. This will actually not show anything because the 0 affixes is actually none. So you would have to go ahead and delete that section, and then now you will see every single outcast gloves that drops. You will 100% see. So I have these all set to 0 affix and the reason for that is when I go to set up, it's I'm going to select the affixes that I want to see. I'm going to say, hey, I want to get movement speed on whatever this is. I want movement speed. I want it at least tier 5, and then boom. Oh, and then let's just say, hey, actually a bunch of blue ones are dropping. So let me select rarity and be like, hey, I only want to see rare ones. I don't care about a blue item dropping. I only care about rare item. And then you can add that filter in as well. I don't think sorting by rarity is always the best. I always just go by affix personally. But you have the availability to do that. And then, hey, I'm thinking about making a Wraith or a Flame Wraith build because I got a good Flame Wraith idol. Or a good Flame Wraith unique that dropped, or whatever, Sentinel unique, Beastmaster unique, whatever it is. Let me go ahead and set up a filter now because I'm thinking about it, and let's see if I get any other like really good gear for that character. And so you can kind of preset this up for characters that you potentially may play. And if you change your mind, you can just set it up for something else. Very handy to have because you don't want to just be farming for one character if you plan on playing multiple characters. You want to always be trying to get as much loot that's relevant to you as possible. If you have any other questions about loot filters or anything Last Epoch related, feel free to ask down below. I will have some more Last Epoch content coming out up until release, and I'll be streaming a whole bunch here on Twitch on release as well if you're interested in checking that out. But until next time, peace.